Hello and welcome to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors oxygenaddict.com, wearebikehouse.co.uk and triathlonbox.co.uk. I'm joined by the wonderful Helen Murray. Helen, how are you, mate? I've missed you.
I know, it seems like we haven't spoken for ages, Rob. How was your hollybobs?
It is weird not talking to you every week, Helen. It's like having another wife. Don't tell Rich. Don't tell Rich that's how he'll listen, doesn't he? Sorry, Rich.
It was like, oh, last week. Where's my Monday chat with Rob gone?
Yeah, bizarre, hey? No, great time. I can highly recommend Lanzarote to anybody who's considering any kind of active holiday. Never been there before, actually, so it's a bit of an eye-opener and loved it. Just thought it was just amazing.
The landscape's really different to anywhere you've been before, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And the fact, like, I've obviously been to Fuerte a few times, but that's mostly black volcanic sand over there. So the sea looks quite dark. You know, it's hard to explain, but with it being white sand a lot of the time in Lanzarote, the sea is that amazing Caribbean blue colour, isn't it?
Yeah.
Palm trees everywhere. Saw the Baylesses running up and down the promenade nearby.
Nice. I bet they were looking strong.
Yeah, actually, Stephen and Bella, both of them zipping up and down with some of the clients from the hotel they work at, I think. And it was the Volcano Triathlon, actually, just after we came back. I just missed it, so I was a bit gutted about that. But yeah, really good. So highly recommended. Swimming in the sea without a wetsuit on, Hells.
Oh, no, were you?
Yeah.
Someone sent me a message.
Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, nice. Because when we were in Cyprus, it was still a little bit cold for getting in without a wetsuit. Some brave people did, but I'm not brave. But no, someone sent me a message.
It was cold,
Yeah.
But I was like, you know, when everyone else is putting a wetsuit on and you kind of strut down in your trunks thinking, God damn it, I wish I brought my wetsuit with me.
What was the temperature of the sea?
I don't know. It was
Cold.
It wasn't too bad, actually. No, you could swim for I swam for 45 minutes, and I was a little bit cold when I got out, but it wasn't like some places where your teeth are chattering when you get out. It's not like North Wales, you know.
Well, honestly, I've seen photos of people swimming in Snowdonia this weekend. Looks blooming freezing. Someone sent me a message saying, come down. We've got some swimming starting. I was like, no. I am not getting in that water until I really have to.
It makes all the difference if the sun's shining, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I went for a few swims over there, and one day it was like 25 degrees with the sun shining down on you, and then another day it was cloudy. And on the cloudy day, you were like, someone's turned the heating off on the bath. It was really cold when you got in. Yeah. So I think the conditions make all the difference.
Oh, man. Ugh.
I've always admired those guys who get in and do the Ironman swim just in trunks. I always think it's really brave. There's always two of them stood there together. And you think, how are you brave enough to do that? And so I had this moment of fantasy thinking, wow, you could do it in Lanzarote. You could do this swim in your trunks. It'd be great. And then that day I swam without the sunshine, and I was thinking, yeah, 5:30 in the morning, it'd be pretty cold.
Yeah, it's not happening. We know someone who she swam all winter in Tooting Bec open pool in London without a wetsuit. She went through all winter.
Is Faye?
No.
That's hardcore.
Isn't that hardcore? Yeah.
Yeah.
She might not have swum, really, really far, but she said that your body
got in every day.
Got in every week without a wetsuit. She did it year round. That's amazing, isn't it?
It really. I remember seeing photos of Faye getting in when there was snow on the ground in December at Tooting Bec, and you're thinking, that's incredible. Actually, I'm down in London in a few weeks. I might try and get down there and have a swim. That'd be a pretty cool thing to do.
If you do, put your wetsuit in.
Is it that bad?
Oh, honestly, it's not heated, so really, it would be cold.
It'd be, yeah, I suppose so.
Unless your body is used to cold water, stick a wetsuit in, and then it'll be really nice. But well, she says nice. I went in there once, and I think it must have been in August kind of time of year, and I thought, oh, it's a nice day, it'll be fine. Got in, I was like, blooming heck, it's freezing. And there were all these people next to me in wetsuits. I thought, oh, they knew, didn't they?
Yeah, he knew. There you go. I'm not taking a wetsuit with me. Screw that.
Don't go. Go to Hampton Pool.
Okay,
that's
a good
where you
tip.
need to go. That's open air, but it's heated and it's amazing.
Oh, okay, good tip. Hampton, whereabouts is that in London?
Southwest.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. It's my
Oh, good.
top
There
tip.
you go. Helen's top tip. Hey, Londoners out there, go for a swim.
They'll all know about it. It's the people who might
Yeah,
be going to
that's
London on
absolutely
a little, if you're there for a few
business
days with
trips.
work or something, yeah, get out to Hampton. It's really nice.
Cool. All right, so listen, let's hit it with some results for this week, shall we? Results are brought to us by triathlonbox.co.uk. If you're looking for a cool way to carry your stuff between the car and transition, we've got a sealable, lockable transition box with room for all your shoes, your bike shoes, your running shoes, your wetsuit probably as well, water bottles, the whole deal, anything you can think of. Clever little cutout fits on the top tube of your bike and you'll wheel it in looking cool. You do not crash your bike into the fence at the outside of the Slate Man transition area like I did trying to carry a bag that felt like it was smuggling, I don't know, half a ton of something across the border.
It's that awkward moment, isn't it, when they say, "Put your helmet on, please," before you get into
Yeah.
transition.
Like, oh, really? Because I'm going to over... And now I'm down. I'm on the floor.
Where should we start,
Yeah,
Rob? I
good stuff.
say let's start in France.
Well, we need to go back a week, really, don't we?
Oh, shall
We should
we?
go back in
Yeah.
time a week. We should start in Challenge Fuerteventura. The one I'd love to go over and do this race because it's based at Playtas where we did our training camp. And a little bit, well, there's good news and bad news, wasn't there? Good news for the Brits with Will Clark taking second place, only a handful of seconds behind Andy Bokra and in front of Timo Bracht and Andreas Drietz. So he had an absolutely storming performance there. So well done to Will. It's great to see him back, and hopefully we're going to have an interview with him in a couple of weeks' time. So trying to line that up with his calendar at the moment. He took a bit of time off, didn't he, in 2015 with a bit of burnout.
Yeah.
So it's good to see him back and kicking it again.
And other on the women's podium, Rob, we had it was Anya Berenek took the win in 4:29. Emma Billum was second in 4:30, and then Emma Pooley just snatched third in 4:42. I think she was lying in fourth, really in the closing stages, and then overtook. I think it might have been Catherine Jameson, like literally in the final stretch to snatch third. So. Good
Yeah,
work,
good
Emma Pooley,
stuff.
but unlucky for
Yeah,
the sprint finish.
Ruth Purbrook was first age group overall in a few seconds over 5 hours, so it's a good result there. Skipper was back in eighth in 4:11, and then Richard Horton was in 12th, Brennan Townsend in 13th, and poor old Graham Stewart in 19th place overall. Completed the race despite none of his equipment or bike getting there. So we did the whole thing on borrowed or hired items, which is pretty hardcore, isn't it?
Oh, what a nightmare. Yeah, that's not what you're after.
No, he's a previous winner of
Norseman?
Keltman.
No? Yes?
Did
Yes.
he win Norseman?
Oh, maybe podium.
He won Keltman, didn't he, for
Mm.
sure? And then I think he podiumed at Norseman. So it's a quality athlete there. So good for him for hiring a bunch of stuff and having a crack anyway. It must be a horrible position to be on a rented road bike, eh?
Oh, it's just not what you want, is it?
No,
No.
somebody else's shorts.
Really not what you want.
Oh dear. Right, let's go forward in time a week and back to this week now. So let's go to France for 70.3 Pays Dax.
Yeah, so this one. Now, Rob, I had seen photos in the run up to this one and it looked gorgeous. Everyone was in the sunshine, and I thought, oh, get me out there, because in the run up to it last week in the UK, it was pretty naff, like de-icing the car at kind of 4:30 in the morning. Anyway, turned out on a race morning, which was Sunday, May the 1st, temperatures of about 5 degrees. Oh,
Oh,
oh. So,
don't need that, dear.
well, they decided to cancel the swim. So they turned it into a bike run. So I just think if you're a good swimmer, you'd be really gutted when that happens, wouldn't you?
If you were David McNamee, for example,
Yeah,
you'd be
yeah,
absolutely gutted. Yeah.
yeah. But it was a really fantastic result for Nikki Bartlett, who got her first 70.3 podium as a professional. So she was third. And Kimberly Morrison was fourth in the women's race. It was won by Tina Deckers in 3:56. And I think she rode sort of 10, 12 minutes faster than the rest of the field. Julia Gager, second in 4:02. And then, well done, Nikki Bartlett, third in 4:04. And I think she's absolutely over the moon with that one. Someone who would be a little bit gutted, Rob, David McNamee, we just mentioned him. He was fourth by a second.
Oh, breaks your heart. Apparently they set them off at 20-second intervals as well, so nobody had any idea where they were relative to anyone else. It was all completely random, and it was all determined by a lottery.
Yep.
So none of the pros knew where each other were.
Oh, man.
So yeah, unlucky, David.
Because he did the fastest run by far, Rob. He did a 1:10 run.
That's insane.
Yeah. Really much,
Mind you, shows he's in good shape though, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. He really is.
I wouldn't have fancied people's chances of taking him down if the swim was involved.
No, you kind of think
he's one to watch, isn't he, for this year?
Yeah, I mean his bike was a bit slower than sort of some of the others around him, but definitely, one to watch for sure.
You know what, though? I reckon in a situation like that, as a pro man, it's a lottery, isn't it? You're weaving through people on the road, and rather than riding in a pace line with the other pros, it's a difficult one, that.
Yeah.
Mind you, we're going to award David the Helen's Fist Pump of Joy award, I think, for the week for that. We'll give him the we've decided you're the rightful winner paid axe.
Well, Bertrand Billard was actually the winner in 3:30. He's France. Maurice Clavel of Germany took second, and then Christian Bingruber of Austria got third, just 1 second ahead of David McNamee.
Ah, breaks your heart.
Yeah.
Okay. Next big race up this weekend was Ironman Australia.
Yes. Did you? I just saw lots about some very fast runs with this one, Rob.
Go on, tell me some times you've seen here.
Well, so Beth Girdis won, and she did a 2:56 marathon.
Wow,
so
that's good going,
isn't it? She got the second fastest run split of the day, men and women.
All the guys,
men and women, yeah. So
that's seriously smoking, isn't it?
Isn't it amazing?
Now a little bit of a contentious issue here. I'm on Australia. Is it all right for Tim Reed to take the win wearing Speedos?
I did see that, right? And I saw this photo and I just thought it must be a bit uncomfortable. Someone can prove me, tell me otherwise, but I don't know. Are they padded?
Helen, I don't have the body confidence to even ever have tried a pair on. You've got to imagine that they've got some kind of little triathlon pad in there, for doing an Ironman in. God. Surely.
It's just wow, is all I can say.
There's some serious chafage going on if they're anything like my old Speedos.
It's like the number covers more than his Speedos.
Yeah, I can't look at it anymore. I'm going to flick away from that photo, look back at somebody else. Sort it out, Tim.
Oh, it's impressive.
Oh dear. So results there for the ladies. Beth Gerdes takes it in 9 hours 10. Michelle Bremen from New Zealand in 9 hours 13. And Dimity Lee Duke from Australia in 9:42 in third. So a big old gap back to third place there.
Yeah, and over on the men's side, Tim Reed took it out in 8:16 to win. David Dello of Australia, another Aussie, in 8:22, finished just ahead of his fellow countryman Clayton Vettel in 8:23. Now, Rob, so brilliant racing there. One thing I did notice was Josh Amberger, right? Aussie pro triathlete. He's put on Twitter, drafting penalty, then disqualified at Ironman Oz for public urination.
Oh dear.
And he said he pulled off the course at 22k into the run, and then he says equal measure of embarrassment and bewilderment.
Well, it's in the rules, I suppose, these days, isn't it?
Not to pee on the fly.
Well, the question is, did he have a pee while he was on his bike, or did he stop and have a pee at the roadside? the rules are pretty strict these days. It used to be like you go back and listen to the old IM Talk podcasts, and they've got a high five on how to pee on the bike. These days, it's pretty clear, man. If the motorcycle dude sees you having a pee when you're on the bike, you're disqualified straight away. Even stopping and having a pee at the roadside, even in a quiet area in a hedge or whatever, gets you disqualified. So it's pretty harsh though still, isn't it?
God, I got off my bike twice to go and run into Ironman Austria 3 years ago. I had to pee twice. Both times I went to the side and went, behind a tree or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a difficult. I mean, there were rumours years ago that that's why the old Ironman UK got moved off from its site down in Sherborne, because the landowner was so unhappy about 1,000 people running around and basically weeing all over the country estate, and kind of couldn't understand why people wouldn't use the portaloos that had been provided. So there you go. That'd be a warning to you all listeners. Get yourself into the porta potty. You don't want to be DQ'd at the end of a long, hard day out for a bit of that, do you?
No, but it's sort of, I don't know, it's one of those things that it happens a lot of the time, doesn't it? And I guess you just have to try to, not get caught? Or just don't do it. I don't know. It's sort of...
Yeah, it's like, if I remember doing Ironman France, and there's nowhere to go at Ironman France apart from porta potties. You can't, because it's up and down the Promenade des Anglais in Nice. So you can't just stop and have a pee against a palm tree, because it's, it's the middle of a big city.
Yeah.
So yeah, find a porta potty, get in there, I reckon.
Interesting. When we did Ironman Austria, 3 years ago, one of the guys I did it with had big issues. There were not enough toilets at every aid station. He had to go into cafes.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, it gets a bit tough, that, doesn't it?
Not what you want,
if you're racing and you've got to stop and wait, then...
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on from toilet talk.
I've got a mate who actually used somebody's house when they were doing Ironman UK at Bolton, and said to the people who sit at the end of the driveway in lawn chairs cheering you on, and he's like, please, can I use your toilet? And they let him.
Oh. Do I admit to something similar?
Really?
Well, I did this. I don't know if I should admit to this.
I love it. There's an admission coming.
Oh God, no! This is bad. So I did this big run along the River Severn. Right, this was sort of nearly 10 years ago, and I think it must have been around about day 5 or day 6. And I really needed to go to the loo, and we were about to start for the day, and we were in a little village, I think Gloucestershire way. And I was like, oh my God, I can't start running. I literally have to go to the toilet.
I feel like we should have music playing in the background for this. You know how Radio 2 used to go, do, 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 do. Helen was a lady attempting to go for a run. Do, 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 do. She couldn't find a toilet anywhere. Do, 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 do.
So there was a man sitting on a bench, possibly with his dogs. And I said, are there any toilets around here? And he said, no. And I was like, oh. He said, why? You're really desperate. I was like, yes, I'm very, very desperate for the toilet. And he said, well,
you can come and use my house if you like, young lady.
You can come into the house.
That's brilliant.
And his wife was in the house, and I had to go to the toilet and then scurry away.
I say thank you very much.
Yeah.
Let's move on. I feel uncomfortable.
It was awful.
I hope Rich knows the story already.
Oh God. It was awful. Anyway, moving on.
There we go. Right. We've got to give a shout out here to Jesse Thomas over at Wildflower. Probably the most iconic American 70.3 distance race on the circuit. As yet to be bought up by one of the big franchises, and let's hope at least this race stays independent, hey?
Yeah, definitely.
6th straight win for Jesse Thomas. Bit of a sweet spot for Jesse Thomas, the winner of Ironman Wales last year. Seemed like a really good guy when I met him at the finish. And you got to give him respect for the headband and the aviators, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's like he's shot back in time in a DeLorean.
It's a cool look.
He's a very cool guy. Do you know, he said he'd come on the show. We should chase that up.
I think, yeah.
He said he'd do an interview.
Chase it up, Rob. Chase it up.
He's over in Lanzarote, I believe. He's going over to race Lanzarote in a couple of weeks' time. So this was his kind of warm-up race. So it'll be interesting having him go shoulder to shoulder against Frodeno in the heat. That'd be a good race, won't it?
Yeah, that would be really good. That'll be.
Because obviously, it's pretty hilly in Lanzarote, and that'll suit Thomas more than it'll suit
It will, won't it? Because
Dino, I can imagine.
Wales, he absolutely smashed it, didn't he?
Yeah, he's a lean dude for sure.
With a headband.
With a headband. So Jesse Thomas takes it out in 4:05 from Terenzo Bozzoni in 4:08, Chris Lieferman in 4:10. Women's results: Liz Lyles of the USA in 4:42 from Laurel Wasner in 4:48 and Emily Cox in 4:51. All USA and Germany in the top 10 on both the men and the ladies side.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's awesome.
Cool.
Rob, are we doing one more result, Bustleton, or we?
Yeah, let's do Bustleton. Come on.
Okay, well, I haven't got it in front of me, so
So I'm going to have to quit. I know Crowe won it. Crowe blitzed it, didn't he? Crowe ran a 1:11, I believe. I'm going to check this now with my facts. Let's see. Men's race here. At the halfway point, Alexander turned on the jets, says slowtwitch.com.
Nice.
1:12 half marathon, which brings him to the line in 3:43. So that's pretty damn good going, isn't it?
I love it. He just goes on, doesn't he?
Yeah. It just goes
awesome.
to show because he's taken down a quality field there. Callum Millerwood was leading, wasn't he, at Ironman New Zealand, right up until mile 20 or something. Pete Jacobs got out the water in first as well, so it looked like he was back on the gas, and then ended up finishing back in 13th.
Yeah, he faded, didn't he?
7 minutes off the win, so it's not really the Pete Jacobs we know of old, is it? Still, I'd love to see him get back in shape.
I know it must be so hard having had that incredible race, and then not quite kind of matching that.
Yeah,
must be really psychologically pretty tough. Over on the women's race, Annabelle Luxford took the win in 4:12, but then they did have they were having timing issues, but Kate.
Bevilacqua.
Yeah, Bevilacqua got second, and then Katie Gibb got third.
There you go. I gave it a shout. Bevilacqua. We'll call it that, shall we?
Confidence.
Right, we're going to have to quickly blitz through some news we've noticed here, aren't we? So we've already mentioned Frodeno's racing at Lanzarote against Thomas. So what we've got, like 2 weeks to go before that, the 21st, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's coming up quick. I'd love to go over for that one day.
Are you going to be able
quick flight to Lanza?
Get out there again?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Nip over. It would be cool. Yeah. The atmosphere is meant to be brilliant. The other bits of news we've seen is that Michelle Dillon has been selected for the World Duathlon Championships, which are in Avilés in Spain next month. So she'll be representing GB. So Stuart Hayes' wife,
work,
of course.
Michelle Dillon, yeah.
Yes, that's fantastic. And supposedly retired, Rob.
Yeah, they never retire.
No.
She's just got a big gap between injuries. You may as well race in it. I'd love it if she medalled.
It would be pretty
awesome.
cool, wouldn't it? That would be a really good.
What's she like, 42 or 43 now?
Oh, don't know.
That'd be fantastic.
Would be awesome. Other bits of news that we've seen is that the Ironman 70.3 World Championships for 2018, it'll either be in South Africa in Port Elizabeth, or it'll be in Nice in France, or it'll be in Budapest in Hungary. So those three cities sort of will go up against each other, and then someone will make a decision between the three of them. So there you go, 2 Europeans against South Africans.
So there's going to be a 70.3 Nice that year. There isn't one this year. Maybe there'll be one next year in preparation for it.
Well, it could be. It's nice down there, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely course. And also Budapest, I had a couple of athletes I coached race there last year, and they raved about it. That's meant to be a fantastic, like, city centre location, great bike course, pretty fast even, and multi-lap run course that it would be brilliant as a championship course from what people said. They raved about it.
And Budapest is a really cool city.
Yeah.
And then Port Elizabeth,
I
think, again, if that would be quite a cool place to go and do the 70.3 World Championship. Yeah. Quite expensive, but I mean, to get there for people in Europe, but yeah, it'd be great. So will be interesting to see. So next year is 2017, isn't it? It's in
for the Gold Coast next year.
This year. Gold Coast this year, Sunshine Coast is this year in September.
Ah, okay.
Chattanooga in Tennessee is next year, 2017, and then they'll make that decision on 2018.
Okay, good stuff.
And then the only other bit of news that I noticed, Rob, is, and this happened a couple of weeks ago, but because we didn't record a show last week, we are bringing it to you now. And it's that Challenge have announced a championship, which is a new sort of global half distance championship event for professionals and for age groupers. And it sounds really cool. So you can qualify a number of Challenge races this year. And I guess in the early part of next year, they will invite top 5 from the Olympics.
It's the top 5 every race, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and then I was going to say.
Oh, sorry, the top 5 from the Olympics are going to get an invite as well.
Top 5 from the Olympics, top 3
Brilliant idea.
from the World Triathlon Series, the ITU Long Distance Championship, the World, so like the Ironman World Champs, and the 70.3 World Champs. So those winners will all get an invite. So it's cool, and it's going to be Challenge Summer. It's going to be 2017. It's going to be over in Slovakia.
Awesome. That'd make a fantastic race, won't it? If they can get all the top guys there, that's a really, really clever thing to do.
Yep.
Because it's a thing that Ironman have resisted with Kona, isn't it? Saying, you know, for years people have been saying you should invite, 5 wild cards and just say, hey, Ali, fancy a race?
Yeah.
Gomez, fancy a race?
Yeah.
That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
It's really cool. Yeah, I think it's a really, really it's a great idea. And they're going to do for age groupers. So yeah, top 6 age group finish at any challenge event during this qualification period. Then they're going to have top 3 teams in the male, female, and mixed categories in relay events as well. So they really are making it open to a lot of people, which is it's great.
Fantastic stuff.
Yeah. So
I look forward to that. Good for them for raising the bar, and that'll raise a lot of interest in that race, I think.
I think so, and I think it will raise interest in some of the challenge races a little bit more, maybe, because if there's a little bit more at stake, if previously you thought, perhaps I'll go for an Ironman race, well, actually now, if you think, hey, I could get into that, into the top sort of 6 in my age category, well, then I could have a chance of being essentially at a slightly different World Championships.
Yeah, with a seriously stellar pro field there as well, which will have a bit of razzmatazz.
Exactly.
That'll attract people.
Yeah, so
cool.
You can get more information at thechampionship2017.com.
Good stuff.
There we go.
Good stuff. Right, now then, mate, let's rock it over to this week's interview. Pre-recorded by the wonderful Helen Murray again, you'll all be pleased to hear. Helen has turned her super-duper interview skills on none other than super coach and former world champion Siri Lindley. What do you want to give us as a spoiler for this one, Hels?
Don't worry if your A race goes wrong.
That's good advice.
That is it. No, honestly, it was a bit like I was so excited when I got off of Skype after having spoken to Siri, and you can probably hear me. I'm like, oh, yeah, it was great. It was great. A bit like Beck Keat, though. So that they are married, and you can see why they are married. They are so passionate and enthusiastic, and it just makes you love life and want to be coached by them, basically.
Brilliant.
So let's
listen. Come on,
yeah.
Let's get them on. Here we go. Here's today's interview with Supercoach Siri Lindley.
Siri Lindley, hello and welcome to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you, and thank you for having me on the podcast. I've really been enjoying listening to the other podcasts, and so I feel pretty lucky that you've invited me to be on.
Oh, that's really, really kind of you. Well, we are very lucky to have you on because you are one heck of an awesome coach, Siri, and an amazing athlete.
Oh, well, thank you. I kind of forget the athlete part, but I am loving the coaching, so it's a good life, and I feel very grateful for it.
Can you tell us a little bit about the transition from athlete to coach? Because you had been really, really successful, hadn't you, as an athlete?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. That's a huge compliment. I was lucky enough to have a 12-year journey in the sport as an athlete. And when I first started, I had just learned how to swim. I was 23 years old, and I knew that I had a massive, massive task ahead in order to achieve what I was hoping to, which was, and I would have never said this out loud to anyone else in the world except myself, but I really wanted to be the best in the world in this sport that I'd fallen in love with. And I had been a field hockey, ice hockey, and lacrosse player in college, so I had no background whatsoever in swim, bike, and run. But when I tried out my first race just for fun back in 1993, I thought, wow, this is the most incredible sport. I mean, everyone's doing it. You know, it doesn't matter what your age is, what your size is, what your level is. Everyone is out here and working hard at being the best that they can be and enjoying this great sport. So I fell in love with it, which was kind of a bummer because I was really, really bad at it.
And you really couldn't swim, honestly.
Oh, I was awful. I mean, my mom is amazing. She's an amazing athlete, and she's even a good swimmer, but she has this beautiful blonde hair that she never, ever wanted to get wet.
Yep.
So when we swam together, it was always just kind of this swan stroke, you know, out in the ocean with the head out of the water and, you know, whatever was happening under the water. And that's kind of all I knew. So when it was time to learn how to really swim, I mean, it was a bit of a disaster. I must say, it was quite the embarrassment. I looked like a human washing machine moving down the pool, and I had a lot of work to do. But fortunately, I had a really great friend at the time. Her name was Lindley, and she knew how badly I wanted to kind of just get good at this sport, and so she started teaching me how to put my head under the water and start swimming. And again, I never told anybody kind of how big my goals were in the sport because I knew that it would sound crazy to anyone who saw what my ability was at that time. But all I can explain it as is just this deep drive in my heart and in my gut saying I have to do this and discover what my abilities are. And I just soaked up the learning, just tried to learn everywhere that I could. And I had a full-time job at the time that was about 60 hours a week, but I would get up at like 3 a.m. and train until I had to start work and train during my lunch hour and train after work. And I was really determined, and somehow, some way, I started improving a bit. And it was kind of later on, after about 2 years, when I started and I moved out to Boulder, Colorado, and got my first coach, an amazing, amazing woman named Yoli Cassis, who just had all the enthusiasm in the world, had a great knowledge of kind of the sport at that level that I was at, and taught me everything I needed to know to get started. And she somehow had this belief in me that I could achieve something great. So she really is the one that kind of got me started and, you know, got me to keep believing in this dream that seemed so impossible. So fast forward many years later, and somehow I, you know, after months and months of swimming 60K a week and trying to make up for lost time, I got my swim to the ability where I could get out in that first pack in ITU World Cup races. And my run had gotten to a level where it became my weapon, and I was able to start winning some races on the run, and somehow ended up becoming a world champion in 2001 and holding on to the world #1 ranking for the ITU for 2001 and 2002. And at that point, I think I'd found what I was looking for, and it wasn't about, you know, I mean, sure, my dream was to win a world championship, but I think what I really was searching for was just like a confidence in myself or belief in myself that I didn't have up until that point in my life. So when I realized that I'd kind of found myself and found what I was looking for, I was ready to move forward. And right away, I got involved in coaching. And once I started, I was like, wow, now I know exactly why I so desperately wanted to do all of this stuff as an athlete, because it has given me all the knowledge to be the best that I can be as a coach. I mean, I made every mistake in the book as an athlete, but I also learned how to do it right. So coaching, I really believe, is my true calling and my destiny. I mean, I have such a great, deep passion for it. Um, but I think that my time in the sport as an athlete, which I'm so grateful for, was the most brilliant, you know, 10 years or 11 years. And it really did prepare me for what I do now. So,
And I guess being at that point whereby you're saying yourself you couldn't, your swim was pretty rubbish.
yeah.
Having come from that all the way through to being world champion, then I guess you can work with pretty much any athlete.
Yeah, exactly. And if somebody does say to me, oh, everybody tells me there's no way I can do this, I'll say, you know what? If you want it bad enough and you're willing to do whatever it takes to make this dream come true for yourself, then I believe you can. But it's hard work, and you do. It's you have to make a lot of sacrifices, but in the end, they're not sacrifices because they're leading you to, your ultimate dream. So, yeah, I do believe anything is possible for anyone as long as they're willing to do what it takes to make it happen. And that's a part that's hard because, it's hard work and you can't ever give up on yourself. And there are going to be some horrible times that make you want to just throw in the towel. But if you stay true to yourself and keep believing, you really can make incredible things happen that seem pretty impossible.
Siri, I think your your enthusiasm, I can hear it now, and it's it's infectious. It's a bit like
Oh,
Beck.
stop it.
No, you just think, wow.
Well, yeah, well, with Beck also, I think that's why we get on so well. I mean, both of us are just so passionate about life and what we do, and we all can have that. I mean, it's like I hear your enthusiasm, through your questions and when we first started talking, but we all have choices in life, and when we choose to follow something that excites us and challenges us every day, I mean, how can you not be excited about that? Because you're just constantly learning and constantly growing.
I love it. I love it. So, right, Siri, tell me about the difference between you crossing the line as a world champion and as an athlete, and you watching one of your athletes cross the line as their coach.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I have goosebumps all over my body, just you bringing up those two scenarios. Wow. I mean, when I crossed the line winning my world championship, I thought there's never going to be a time in my life that feels this good and this satisfying and this amazing. I just wanted to stop time in that moment. And that was incredible. And again, I feel so lucky and fortunate that I was able to achieve that. But I have to tell you, when an athlete comes to me with their dream and they're, basically see it as they're handing me their dream and putting it in my hands and trusting in me to help them make that dream come true. I mean, that's special and that's an honor. And I don't take that responsibility lightly at all. And you then set out on this incredible journey of working together with that athlete and, both of you pushing each other to be the very best that you can be. And, so I don't know, there's just something that much more incredible when you've shared the experience with someone else. And I think it's knowing that, as an athlete, you win a world championship and it took you believing in yourself to make that happen, and that feels great. But for instance, like Rinny winning her first Ironman World Championship in Kona, I mean, we went in there. She'd never done an Ironman before. I'd never done one before. I'd never coached one before. And I think, we were kind of going in there taking a big chance and following a plan that I had come up with, or we had come up with together, that we decided to trust in and believe in. And when that plan ended up resulting in a world championship title, I mean, that was the greatest moment ever, bar none. I mean, to share that with her and to know what that meant to her and how much it meant to us, it's just so incredibly powerful and satisfying and amazing. And so I don't know if I explained that very well, but I think
Yeah, I think you
when
have.
when you get to share that with someone, and how hard I know how hard she worked. I know everything that we had to do to make that happen. And, the beauty of her trusting in me and us believing in each other. It's just really incredible. So I would have to say, um, geez, I hope I would never have to give any of those away, but I would have to say that achieving it with an athlete, and a few times over with Rinny and hopefully more, and with Leanda Cave, I mean, it's the most incredible feeling in the world.
Right. Well, Siri, you there have mentioned Rinny, so we're gonna we're gonna stick with Rinny. Oh, it must have been dreadful last year when she couldn't. Did I can't quite remember. Did she start and not finish, or did she not start? Did she get through the
She
swim?
started.
Yep.
Oh,
And
she
then
was
had to pull
so
out.
determined. Yeah, and it was just devastating. I mean, when she got hit by the car, she called me that night. I was didn't know what to say. I'm trying to stay calm. I'm trying to be realistic. I knew that she probably shouldn't have started on that day, but she had herself, when you're Rinny's the type of athlete that from the day after Kona, we're focusing on Kona again.
Mm.
And we'd put in all the time, we put in all the work, we got her to a level that was better than ever before. So it's hard to accept that this being hit by a car was going to prevent her from being able to, celebrate all that preparation and all that hard work. So I remember I was like, "How you doing?" You could tell she's like walking kind of lopsided, and she's
Mm.
like, "Yeah, I'm great, coach. I'm great. I'm going to be just fine." I'm looking at her like, "Oh my God," like she's
She's not fine.
totally out of whack right now. And she was staying so positive and so strong. And I knew that I had to let her start. And I said to her, I said, the adrenaline of the race and it being Kona, you may feel great from the start. But unfortunately, because of what happened, you need to be ready for the fact that you might have to make a decision that it's not going to happen today, because we don't want to injure yourself even more so that we don't have an opportunity to get back here and race at 100%.
Mm.
And just the way her body looked and out of whack, and how much energy she spent trying to keep herself up and focused and ready to race regardless of how she was feeling. I mean, it was exhausting. But as I kind of expected, which was so horrible, before the race and race morning, just kind of knowing that feeling of dread, just knowing that it wasn't going to happen on that day. That was really tough. And about 90 minutes in, her back just started seizing up so bad, where she just, it was difficult to get the feet around the pedals and to put any power onto the pedals, and things just started getting tighter and tighter. And we made the call to stop. It was a right decision to make, but it's heartbreaking. But, now, like in hindsight, I feel like, yeah, that really sucked.
Mm.
Excuse my language. But things happen like that. This is sport, and for whatever reason, she got hit by a car a couple days before the race, and that was what our circumstances were. And her pulling out allowed her to spend a lot of time getting healthy and getting her body back, where it needed to be again. And I think actually having the year off racing, although we went through everything leading into the race, has been really great for us. And it makes you even more hungry to come back. It gives you perspective on, I mean, we both know how much this race means to her and means to us, but it gives you a different perspective. And, I feel like it's going to be that a lot of great things are going to come out of what happened. It was a bummer, and it was really hard to get through at the time, but it's really fired us up, and we're in a great place now. And she's ready to make some great things happen this year. So we're excited, but it's hard on anyone, but it does happen. It's sport, and how you manage those crises or those letdowns are a great sign of your character and how you come out of it. The best athletes are the ones that come out of it even stronger. And I know Rinny's going to be one of those. So it's all good.
I,
It's
wa- I
all
want
good.
I want to there's two things I want to ask you. One is about Rinny and Kona coming up this year, but as we're just touching about, it was her A race. So what advice would you have for people when your A race does go wrong?
Um, well, it depends on how wrong it actually goes. Like if it goes so wrong that you have to literally you can't finish it, you have to stop the race. You have to reshape your goals. And it doesn't necessarily mean that Kona is no longer your A race. It can still be, but it's going to, you got to wait another year to get there. So, set small goals for yourself. For Rinny, it was okay, let's get your body healthy. Everything was out of whack. Let's put it back together again. Let's come up with a great plan for our off season. Um, our goal always, once we finish Kona, the next day we sit down and I say, Rinny, you think you can go faster? And she'll say, yeah, I can do this better. I can do that better. And then it's like, okay, well, let's get on to that. And that means not just starting training right away, but let's plan your off season, plan your rest, plan our attack. So should your A race not go as planned, I say, give yourself a day to be all depressed about it
Have a
and
good
cry
cry.
and,
Yeah.
and complain and feel sorry for yourself. And then you got to move forward. And I mean, if you weren't able to finish, say, you had 3 flats and nobody was out there to help you and you had to stop because you just couldn't keep going because you didn't have the equipment to, then I say, find a race 2 weeks later, a week later, 3 weeks later, find another race, use that incredible form that you have. You've worked that hard to get in the form of your life for your A race. You got to use that. So don't just get upset and kick a can on the ground and walk home crying. Just say, okay, well, what race can I do? Let's get out there and use this form there. So you want to be able to celebrate all that hard work you've done. You just may have to do it somewhere else, and that's fine. But always use the fitness that you have. Don't just assume, oh, well, that just sucks and it's over now. Now I have to start over again. But if it's a kind of thing like Rinny where she actually got hurt by being hit by the car, then you got to just say, okay, our number 1 goal becomes getting healthy. Our number 2 goal becomes getting you fit again. Number 3 goal becomes part 1 of the season. And then we're back to our A race of Kona and part 2 of the season. And what are we going to do to make this the best year yet? And that's all you can do, but I do think that it's important not to spend too much time in that sad, depressed, feeling sorry for yourself state. It's hard not to. I've been there. Okay. It's hard to pull out of that space. It's
Yep.
really, really horrible. And I used to get so angry at people when they said, okay, now it's time to move on. I'd be like, you don't understand how devastated I am. But you have to. It's the right thing to do. So mourn it, understand it, work through it, figure out your feelings about it, and then come up with a new plan and get excited about it. That's the most proactive way to deal with it.
Fantastic advice. Thank you very much. Now, Alistair Horrobin asks, will Rinny have any chance of winning with Daniela Reef improving?
I already answered that question. I saw it on Twitter and I'm like, absolutely. I think, not only Rinny, I think there's a few people that have the ability to do that. But to be honest, I have all the respect in the world for Daniela. She's got a couple phenomenal years. She's an amazing athlete. Her coach is, obviously one of the best coaches in the world. And so with no disrespect at all, my philosophy as a coach is with my athletes, I'm just training them to be better than they were the year before, better than they were the day before. I never have my focus be, how are we going to beat Daniela? How are we going to beat this person or that person? It's not about that. With all the respect in the world to her and to Brett, my focus is on how am I going to make Rinny as fast as she can possibly be in order to have her best possible race in Kona, which hopefully means faster than she's ever gone before, which will if she does that, will lead to the best day she's ever had there before, which could lead to another win. I'm going to have Yvonne van Vlerken out there. I'm going to have Rebecca Keat out there. I mean, both of them are just phenomenal athletes. I am, as a coach, just training them to be the very, very best athletes that they can be. Faster, stronger, more mentally tough, more better prepared than they have ever been ever before. And whatever happens with everyone else that I don't know or I don't coach, I mean, that's not what I'm focusing on. So absolutely. I guess my answer to that is yes, Rinny can go faster than she's ever gone before. And I believe my other athletes can go faster than they ever have before. So if we all go out, with that in mind, then let the best woman win, really.
Do you get goosebumps, in the days leading up to Kona, or can you stay quite relaxed about it all?
Well, I have goosebumps just talking about it right now. I mean, it's that kind of a race for me. I just, God, it reaches me to the very core, and it just strikes this passion inside of me. It's just such an incredible race and such a huge, massive challenge. And there's so many things that you need to get right. So yeah, I mean, I have goosebumps right now talking about it. So when it comes down to a few days before the race, I mean, the goosebumps are riddling my body. Everybody thinks, what's going on? It's 110 degrees. Why do you have goosebumps? But it's all your nerves are kind of on a good edge that whole week. And it's a matter of being excited, yet really laser focused on where you need to be each day and where your energy needs to be and what you need to be doing to, be able to get the most out of yourself on the day. And that doesn't just mean my athletes on the day, but it means for me to really be in the space I need to be in to, send them off that morning in the right state of mind and, with everything they need to make all the right decisions, depending on what happens throughout the day.
And do you talk to them before they get in the water? What kind of things would you be saying to them?
It's different for all of them. I remember a couple of years ago I had Rinny and I get it confused, but there was one year I had Rinny and Leanda and Yvonne and Rebecca and Amanda Stevens, all athletes that I'd say all of them had a chance at coming in the top 5 at the level they were at. And before the race, I did all my pre-race talks like the day before. And that was where the important stuff was said. And I had a different recipe for each athlete because they all respond to really different stuff.
Yep.
But within that talk, you're definitely going over the strategy and what they need to be thinking about in every moment and doing all the little things right. And then the next day, I definitely want to talk to each of them because I need to figure out what kind of a space they're in, make sure they're in the right space. If they're not, then there's going to be a little more talking because we need to get them in the right space before the gun goes off. But, the nerves are high in the morning and everybody is, deep down freaking out inside. I think the biggest thing for me as a coach is remind your athlete that, they're ready. If they weren't ready, they wouldn't be on the start line. And today's their day where all those days of the hard work and everything they put into this goal, they get to celebrate that. They get to, show it off to themselves and be proud of how far they've come. And so to kind of just relax and embrace the day, it's kind of thing where you're in the race and it's like, oh my God, when's it going to end? It's so hard. This is, but at the end of the day, it's like, oh my God, it's over. Like, I'm so bummed it's over. And we've worked so hard for this and now it's over. It's like Thanksgiving dinner. It's like, you spend all day cooking your dinner and then you scarf it down and then it's like, oh, bummer, it's over. So embrace
Gotta do it again next year.
Yeah, enjoy the good, enjoy the hard, enjoy every aspect of that race because it is the most incredible experience in the world, and good and bad. Like you're doing an Ironman, like live it and love it and embrace it, and try and really just give it everything you have. And you can only ask for your best effort. There's two things you can control in any race, whether it's a sprint or a Ironman, and that's your effort and your attitude. And if you control those two things, and you've done the work, you're going to put together a great day.
Awesome. Do you think anybody can be a coach? Now, I ask that because obviously Ironman do their Ironman certified course, which anyone really can sign up to. Do you think it's a good thing?
I don't. I've spent a lifetime kind of training myself to become a coach and learning from some of the best coaches in the world, like Brett and like my first coach. And I think you can be a coach if you haven't been in the sport that long and you're kind of learning through the textbooks. Sure, you can do that. And I think any kind of help getting another person motivated and inspired to live a healthy lifestyle and take on athletic goals is great. I wouldn't want anyone to be denied of that. But I think to really, do it at the highest level, I think it's years and years of experience and learning from other coaches, from your athletes, from everyone around you. I mean, I'm constantly learning and constantly trying to grow and become a better coach. So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely possible to coach, after having not done it for very long. And I'm grateful for those people, because I think everybody deserves to have support and guidance and encouragement. I just want to make sure that because they've been in it for such a short time, that they really do understand how different every athlete is and how you really need to think a lot about the training you're giving each individual, because the body is it's a sacred thing, and you don't want to mess with it. You don't want to hurt it. You don't want to, get one great year out and then not be able to walk the rest of your life, whatever it is. Like, make good decisions and be informed and really feel confident about the program that you're writing for your athletes. And if you don't really understand the why of the things you're giving them, take a step back and learn about the why. Learn about why you feel this will work. Have a philosophy, have a great belief in your philosophy, and then go back to doing it. Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one, because I don't want to discourage people having support and guidance, but I hope that it's a well-educated guidance coming from experience and being well-informed and constantly learning yourself. What
did you learn from Brett in terms of coaching?
Oh my God. I mean, so much. I've had a lot of coaches in my life. I played 3 sports in high school and in college. And even though it wasn't triathlon, I mean, you learn from every coach that you encounter in your life. And, there are things that I love that certain coaches did with me. There are things that I hated. But all those things, shape your own philosophy. And I think I would say the biggest thing I learned from Brett was how different every athlete is, which is so crucial and so key. And the way that I coach, I mean, everybody is given something so different for their plan, because they all have different needs. And Brett's great at recognizing that and recognizing kind of the mental blocks that athletes have, and not being afraid to work towards breaking through those blocks and creating, more movement forward. There were lots of things that I agreed with Brett, and there are a lot of things that we are extremely different on.
Yep.
But again, I'm so grateful for the amazing coach he was for me. I'm grateful for the things I loved, and I'm grateful for the things that I didn't love, because they helped me form my own philosophy. But yeah, every coach that I've had, no matter what sport, has added to my arsenal as a coach. And I continue to just observe other coaches, observe, different sports, and just learn so much to keep growing and keep providing a service that can be really powerful and an amazing experience for every athlete.
Are you still working with Catherine Foe?
Yes, I am. She's wonderful. Yeah.
Because for people that don't know, Catherine she's a junior doctor in the UK, so currently still doing a lot of work, isn't she? But she absolutely smashed was it the 25 to 29 or the age group in Kona?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. Is she going to be back in Kona?
Oh, yeah. Well, I won't tell you exactly when, whether it's going to be this year or next year, but yeah, she is definitely going to be back. I mean, it's been just amazing working with her. I mean, she is basically working full time. So I've been limited to the amount of time that I can give her in training, but we are maximizing every moment that we have every day. And talk about passionate and feisty and, such an awesome athlete and such a great person. I mean, she is just an absolute joy to coach. And, the work we're doing has been really productive and has led her to being in a really great place form-wise, regardless of having to work, however many hours a week she's working. It seems like millions. But, my goal with her right now, and I said to her, we're going to make the most out of every opportunity we have to train. But I really don't want you spending, your work hours thinking, oh, I'm missing out on this training, I'm missing out on that training. I want you to embrace what you're doing as a doctor and really, throw yourself into that and, enjoy that 1,000,000% and use the training as kind of an outlet. And she's done a brilliant job of balancing both and making the most out of both. And we're just having a ball. It's been great, but she will definitely be back in Kona, and I can't wait for that.
That's great news. We like that.
Yeah, definitely. She's a great girl. Awesome.
Are there any athletes out there that you look at or you hear of, maybe ITU, maybe just age groupers, whatever, and you think, I'd blooming love to coach them?
Well, Rinny was one of them. I know that. And I've never recruited an athlete in my career until Rinny. And it was that same exact thing. I'm like, God, she works so hard. She's so motivated. She's got such potential. So I actually approached her, and that's how we started, 12 years ago or whenever it was. As far as right now, I mean, yeah, definitely. I think at this stage, in the past, I would see a great athlete that just had this tremendous potential, and I'd think, oh my God, I want to coach them. Yeah. Now it's more about, like, I see just that perfect fit for me and that perfect fit for the team, and also that potential. There's this Michelangelo quote, and it's, I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set it free. That quote is, to me, just so amazing, because when an athlete comes to me and asks if I want to coach them, I have that quote in my head, and I think, okay, do I see something in this? Do I see, like, they're telling me I want to, achieve this. Yeah. So I have to kind of dig deep and see if I see that potential in them, and see if I see that with a lot of hard work and a lot of, working together and getting to know each other, can I set that champion free or whatever it is. And if the answer is yes, then we move forward. So there are certain athletes that I look at and I see that potential. I see what kind of a person they are. And I think, yep, that would be an awesome match for me and for my team. And so that's kind of what I look at. But, I have so much respect for every athlete out there. I have to say, I was so incredibly inspired by Helen Jenkins this last weekend. I mean,
wasn't that amazing?
Oh my God. And talk about, an amazing person who has just, kept working so hard, has had a lot of obstacles, a lot of things to overcome. To see her victorious after such a brilliant execution of a race. I mean, that was just fabulous. So she's an amazing athlete. And then I also, on the same note, with Jodie Stimson, God, she's had such a
Yeah.
phenomenal season. So to see her not get the slot just was heartbreaking for me because she deserves a slot.
Yep, I know.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think I've got so much respect for athletes that never give up, athletes that they have tough times, but they never give up on themselves. They never give up on their support team. They just keep believing, and they know that if they do that, they're going to come out on top again. And that's the kind of athlete that really inspires me. And there's a lot of them out there.
There are indeed.
A lot of them out there. So, yeah.
Now, Rob asks, what one piece of advice would you pass on to a serious age grouper in triathlon?
Be balanced. And God, that can carry into so many different things. I see a lot of age groupers because they're limited on time, everything they do is hard, and then it kind of becomes everything in the gray zone. And it's hard to get a lot of great progress when you're constantly in that kind of really uncomfortable gray zone, not extra hard, but not easy at all. You want to have that balance of, hard sessions and easy sessions. And I always look at it like a EKG screen in a hospital. You never want to see that flat line. You want to see a very healthy up and down, what do you call it? Just a healthy EKG. So
Yep.
I see a training plan for everyone, regardless of how much time you have, should have that same variety of the hard stuff, the easy stuff, a little bit of stuff in the middle. Don't do everything hard just because you feel like you only have one session a day. And having the balance of, in your life, you've got your job, you've got your sport, but if you also have a family, include them in a way that makes it fun for them. Have your kids ride their bikes beside you when you run, or pick a race at a place where your wife has always wanted to go. Really make it inclusive so that it's sustainable. If you love this sport and you want to be great, you want to train properly, and you want to have everything around you as happy and balanced as well, so that you really can get the best out of yourself.
That is top advice, Siri. My final question, Rio, triathlon, women's 1, 2, 3. That's a tough one for you.
Wow. Oh my God. I mean, obviously I'm American. So,
Exactly, yep.
I think it would be wrong of me to not choose an American Gwen Jorgensen, but I think it's going to be a very interesting race. I seriously, everybody asks me to call the top 3 in Kona, and I never do because I don't know. I write it down on a piece of paper to see if I was right, but I don't say it out loud. But I think the Brits are going to be incredibly strong, and I think the Americans are going to be incredibly strong. And for the men, you've got Mario Mola, who's just been amazing this season. He's riding a high of confidence, which is really powerful, and he shows he can handle the pressure. But, you've also got Javier Gomez, and you've got the Brownlees, and you've got, I feel like on the men's side, it could be someone that we totally don't expect.
Do you think?
I just feel like that happens a lot at the Olympics. You can get that. And I also think the women's race is not as set in stone as people think it is. But of course, being an American, I'm going to vote for either. Yeah. I mean,
Sarah.
Gwen. Yeah, Sarah. I mean, Sarah, I coached Sarah for about 4 years, way long ago in the beginning of her career. And she is just one hell of an athlete, and I would love to see her up on the podium. I think that would be fabulous. It's going to be an amazing race, so I can't wait to watch it. But I can't give you my top 3. I'm sorry. I'm not being wimpy.
No, it's difficult. If you said to me, Helen, who's your top 3? I'd do the same. I'd give you a similar answer. I'd say, well, I think they're going to be up there. I would say I'd like the Brits to be above Gwen, clearly.
Yes.
But yeah, it's going to be great.
And I
Really.
personally, I mean, now that Jodie Stimpson's not going to be there, I mean, I must say Helen Jenkins is one of my favorite athletes. So I would be very, very happy to see her up top for sure. I'm sure you Brits will like that.
Oh, we'd love it.
Yeah. Okay. So there you have it. There you have it. And I'd be very happy to see a Brownlee on the top too. So there you have that too.
Fantastic. Siri, you're a star. Thank you so, so much for your time. It's been absolutely fantastic having you on the Cup of Tri. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Helen. It was a ton of fun, and you keep up the good work. You're doing so great. It was a lot of fun.
Duracell bunnies.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
Pair of them are totally inspirational.
They really, really are. So it was. I felt very honoured to have the opportunity to speak to both of them, and it was just absolutely fascinating picking their brains, hearing about how Siri was saying that she had gone from pretty much not being able to swim to then being world champion, and all the bits about working with Rinny, and it's just really interesting to get that insight and to be able to share some of that passion on this podcast.
Good stuff. Love it. Love it.
Fab. Now,
right.
Yeah, Rob, I was going to say we're going to do Coach's Couch next, aren't we?
We certainly are. We certainly are. Speaking of coaching questions, and we had a question from Matthew Egan, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. So basically, Matthew Egan says, any advice or thoughts on tapering?
Yeah, so Matthew is he's doing Ironman Mallorca 70.3, which will be in a few days' time. So there's only a few days worth of advice we can give relative to this one. But what I thought it might be worth doing is going over the idea of a taper week for half Ironman. So it gives people the idea of sort of how I get people through the last week, leading up to a 70.3. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all right, cool. So a couple of key things I think first before we get started is with a week to go before your half Ironman race, or even with a week to go before any race, most of the work is done, and by most I mean 99% of it. Most of what you can do in that week is simply going to screw up your race rather than improve your fitness for it. So the key thing is to remember you want to get there fresh and rested. You don't want to get there tired, and I'd rather somebody gets there 99% fit and 100% rested than 101% fit and totally overtired and on the edge of whatever. So just let that crazy brain of yours relax a little bit in the week leading up to the race, because I think it's completely natural to go, I need to do a bit more. And especially in Matthew's case, going out to Mallorca, you're going to be there a few days before the race, and the temptation to go out and train is enormous, isn't it? Because everyone's there, it's hot, the sun's shining, and everyone's running up and down the prom. So you still need to do a bit of something every day, but you need to kind of chill out, and you need to do the bits that you need to do as efforts, and you need to do the rest of it as relaxed. So we'll work backwards from the race. Day before the race, what I advise my athletes to do is a 20-minute jog. And in that 20-minute jog, you're going to insert 4 fast runs of 80 meters. So you're just going to find a nice flat, straight bit of road and run fast but relaxed. So we're not sprinting. We're doing, fast but relaxed running like we would do in a warm-up for a fast race, with a walk-back recovery, maybe 10 minutes of warming up before it and 10 minutes of warming down after it. That's your run for the day before, and get into the open water at the swim venue if you possibly can. Swim for sort of 10 to 20 minutes. If you can actually get to the swim venue and swim off the start line, you get a really good idea of where the boys are going to be, get an idea of something to sight on. All those little things you can take care of the day before are really going to give you a little bit of an advantage on race day. So you've swum out from the course, you've had a look at the first buoy, you turn around, get an idea of what you're sighting on the way back to the race. And at most big races, you're going to have, all the inflatable stuff will be set up already the day before the race, and it'll just give your mind something to settle down on. So day before the race, it's quick swim, quick run. Day before that, we're going to go for a 30-minute bike ride. And again, it sounds pretty short, but the 30 minutes is going to be broken up into 10 minutes of easy riding. And then we want to do something like 6 or 8 sets of 30 seconds of hard riding with a minute to a minute and a half of really easy riding in between it. So we're looking at zone 4 to zone 5 efforts, just really to let your body remember that it's going to do a bit of work in a couple of days' time. And then, a bit of a cool down afterwards. Day before that, we're going to go with a 30 to 45 minute run, steady e-pace run. And that's just sort of, keeping your body ticking over, keeping yourself running the day before. Day before that, we're going to go with an hour-long bike session. And this is really going to be sort of 4 days out. It's the last proper bike session you're going to be doing. So what I'll have athletes do there is within the hour session, solid warm-up, cool down at the end, and 4 sets of 5 minutes at your half Ironman or your Ironman bike power, depending on what your race is for that week. So 5 minutes efforts with 5 minutes riding steady in between. The 5 minutes is just long enough so that your body, it feels like it's doing some work, and it probably won't feel very difficult in the taper week, but it's just getting your body and your mind tuned into that idea of this is exactly what I need to do in the race day. I don't need to go completely nuts. And then the 5 minutes of easy riding in between is just going to feel cruisy. But again, it's just giving you the chance to have that last one blowout. So probably most athletes will do that before they travel off to the race, and then they've got 3 days there, and then you've got race day. It's possible to take a rest day before the race. Some guys like to have one complete day off, and if you want to do that, absolutely fine, but I advise that not to be the day before the race. If you're going to have a total rest day, I'll have that be 2 days before the race. So meaning if the race day is Sunday, maybe you rest completely on the Friday. If your race day is Saturday, maybe you rest completely on the Thursday. And just make sure the day before the race you do 20 minutes of running and a 10 to 20 minute swim, just to get your body ticking over ready for that race effort the day before. And that, my friend, is the basics of the 4-day, 5-day taper leading up to a 70.3 or even an Ironman. I think that'll stand you in pretty good stead, really.
Fantastic. Maybe over in about, 3-4 weeks' time, perhaps we could do tapering towards an Ironman, or maybe even a little bit further after that. I mean, in terms of the few weeks before an Ironman, how does it change?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll do. I've got one of these planned on sort of actual Ironman race week, and some tips as well as like the actual physical tapering, some tips around what people can do just to not go completely nuts in race week. Because there's all kinds of things with, preparing your race bike and equipment and, all of that stuff as well. So having a bit of a schedule in advance, I think that the actual schedule itself isn't that important. It's having it all written down and knowing what you need to do. So I always think if things are written down in front of you, you can take care of them really easily. You don't have to worry about them.
Yeah,
when
definitely.
You should try and get some sleep in the run up to race week. That's the key thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you can tick things off as you go along.
You can tick things off, yeah.
There you go. I'm very much a list person. Now, Rob, age grouper of the week. We have had a few nominations this week, but our age grouper of the week is Nicola Noble. She's at Cycling Noble. She got silver at the ETU Duathlon Championships, and then she took gold at the ETU Cross Duathlon Championships. So top work, Nicola.
Well done. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
I was reading that the ITU are going to have a festival. You know how they've got the Cross Duathlon, they've got the Duathlon, they've got the ITU Long Course Worlds.
Yeah, they're going to have everything together, aren't they?
They're going to have it all in 1 week. Yeah, I think it's not. Is it not next year? It's the year it's going to be in Penticton, where Ironman Canada used to be, and where now Challenge Penticton is. Yep. And they're going to have a whole week-long event. So I think they're having the long-distance duathlon one weekend, and then the long-distance, which I presume is going to be Ironman distance, is going to be the following weekend. And there's going to be shorter races during the week. So that might be a cool thing to be able to do if you qualify and go to a, miles away country. It might be fun to do something like that in the lead up to another race.
Yeah, and also I think, wouldn't it be therefore that you can actually, you could do one weekend and one another weekend if you had qualified for both, whereas at the moment it's quite difficult, isn't it, to be able to do both.
Like a nice taper that, wouldn't it, to do a duathlon the week before an Ironman.
Yeah.
He said, scratching his head, wondering if that's ideal.
Oh, don't know. Rob, a couple of other shout outs from Twitter. First one is at Daniel Giesler, who has made Marrakesh loaf cake. Can you remember we mentioned this cake ages ago?
I do.
Yeah,
I do, yeah.
He's made it. He's been tweeting photos. It looks delicious. And he's written a blog about it. So we will retweet that and you can check that out. So go back on our Twitter feed. It's at Cup of Try. And it's, Marrakesh loaf cake. It's amazing. And then the other one that I wanted to mention was BB Triathlon Coaching got in touch with us. And he says, old men do it quicker. 48-year-old winner and 4 of the top 5 over 40 at Pittsford Triathlon with the water temperature of 11 degrees.
Oh, it's a bit chilly.
Yeah, so good
That
work.
is a bit chilly, isn't it?
Yeah, good work.
Right, and just before we finish, I want to give a named thank you to people who've signed up to become patrons on our podcast. So we've had Guy Bicknell, Neil, I haven't got Neil's surname, Lee at Central Power, and Matt Kellett and Ryan Gavin have all signed up to become patrons of the podcast over the last couple of weeks while we've been on various holidays and things. So listen, thanks ever so much. We really appreciate you supporting the show like that. If anyone else is listening wants to become a patron, we'd really appreciate that as well. You can do so just by clicking the link on the side of the download page on it's oxygenaddict.com/podcast. Click on the link on the side that says become a patron and you can pledge £2 a month, £5 a month or £10 a month to support the show. And as part of our undying gratitude, we're going to do a special patrons only podcast episode in October. So you might be able to guess what we've got hopefully lined up there for you guys. So thank you very much for doing that for us. We really appreciate all of our patrons for supporting the show.
Top stuff. Thank you. Rob, it's nice to have a little chat again.
Lovely to talk to you, Hells. I really missed you. It's a bit weird when I don't get to talk to you for a week. It's nice, this.
Okay, that does now sound weird.
All right.
And don't forget, Rich is listening, so...
Rich, I miss you as well, mate. All right, so listen, until next week, you've been listening to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
Thanks very much for listening, and we shall speak to you all again next week. Cheers now.